quarterbacks. They're arguably the most important piece to an NFL roster. But sometimes a quarterback is good, but only does terrible because of the team he's on. And today we're talking about a particular quarterback. A quarterback, when you think of his NFL career, has been screwed over by multiple teams. Today, we are talking about the depressing story of Josh Rosen. Josh Rosen just get into it because it's very depressing. With the 10th pick of the 2018 NFL Draft, Josh Rosen was selected and drafted from the Arizona Cardinals. Josh Rosen, Sam Darnold, and Baker Mayfield were looking like the top 3 best quarterbacks out of that draft. That draft was a quarterback draft. It was clearly obvious. Just like how the latest draft looked like the draft for wide receivers, this draft was for quarterbacks. Of course, we now know which quarterbacks succeeded in the NFL. Josh Allen with the Buffalo Bills, Lamar Jackson with the Baltimore Ravens, and technically you can classify Baker Mayfield with the Cleveland Browns, who hopefully will have a better season this season with Kevin Stefanski. But we are going to cover the depressing story of Josh Rosen, and in the end calculate, is Josh Rosen a terrible quarterback in general, or is Josh Rosen a alright quarterback which has been screwed over by the NFL? Let's just get into it. Let's get into this. Josh Rosen was first year in the NFL, his first season, and probably his last season with the Arizona Cardinals. Josh Rosen threw for 393 yards, completed 217 yards for 2,278 yards. That is not terrible. That is not terrible for a quarterback. That much yards for a rookie is not bad, but granted, he is a quarterback, so with Larry Fitzgerald and Christian Kirks, he averaged 5.8 yards per play, had a 55% accuracy pass, had 11 touchdowns to 14 interceptions, and had 10 fumbles. So when you look at it, up to the point of the average, it looked pretty good. But then once you get to the accuracy of Josh Rosen, you would realize it's not what it seems. 10 fumbles, 14 interceptions. Let me tell you why he has 14 interceptions and 10 fumbles. And it has to do with something that Josh Rosen has never had in his NFL career. A decently offensive line. A good example of this would be Andrew Luck, someone who never had a good offensive line until the final season of his NFL career, when he decided to retire. It's very sad, and it's just something that hopefully never happens to Trevor Lawrence, because the way it looks for Trevor, it's going to be a similar situation for him. But the offensive line did not help Josh Rosen at all, especially when you get into how many times he got sacked. Josh Rosen got sacked over 40 times. I'm pretty sure it's 45 times he got sacked. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like 45, which is not good at all. Like, that is terrible for an offensive line. It's very sad. It's depressing. So, you might be thinking, so they have the quarterback for the future. They still have Larry Fitzgerald. They have Chris Kirks. You know, they're going to be good. And by the way, they did sign Kenyon Drake. Well, they got traded Kenyon Drake, but everything should be good. Well, it wasn't until Cliff Kingsbury, who was fired from Texas A&M, came to the Arizona Cardinals. Someone who I believe will be a good head coach. And with the first pick of the 2019 NFL Draft, the Arizona Cardinals selected Kyler Murray. This was practically a death blow to Josh Rosen. Someone who thought would be having a great future. Someone who, it was clearly obvious the Arizona Cardinals believed in him because they traded up to get Josh Rosen. Only for Josh Rosen to be not to be the guy. He didn't even have a chance. So, the Cardinals traded Josh Rosen away to the Miami Dolphins for a 4th round pick. And well, what happens if I told you Josh Rosen was put in a worse situation than he was in Arizona? And I'm not joking. It got worse for Josh. Now, before I continue on with this video, I would say that Josh Rosen did not play his full season with the Miami Dolphins. And it's very interesting to see how quickly Josh Rosen was benched. Josh Rosen was actually put in a better situation because he had a new head coach. He had a brand new head coach, the offensive lineman coach from the New England Patriots. But at the same time, he didn't, because this isn't a coach who has been in the NFL for a bit as a head coach. This is a new guy for Miami and a new guy for Josh Rosen. So, here are Josh Rosen's stats for the Miami Dolphins. Someone who had a worser offensive line until Fitzpatrick started, which, wow, that's so great. He threw for 109 times, completed 58 for 567 yards, with an average of 5.2, with a 53% accuracy, 1 touchdown, 5 interceptions, 1 fumble. Yeah, this was worse for Josh Rosen, and it's not even close. Josh Rosen had less touchdowns, a terrible pass accuracy, had less average yards, less yards in general for the full season, less completions, and less attempts. And it's not like the run game helped Josh Rosen at all. It didn't help at all. The only thing that actually improved for Josh Rosen was how many fumbles he had from last season. He had 1 compared to his 10 with the Arizona Cardinals. That's the only thing that improved. Josh Rosen never truly had an offensive line, which is ironic because the same thing happened to Kyler Murray. And yet Kyler Murray won more games. And Kyler Murray looks like he's going to have a better future because now he has DeAndre Hopkins and Isaiah Simmons, and yeah. So you might be thinking, okay, so what, right? Josh Rosen just had a slump. Yeah, that's not what it looks like, because with the 5th pick of the 2020 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins selected Tua Tagovailoa. Yeah, so not only that he was replaced with Kyle Murray and got traded in his first season in the NFL, then he got benched for Minkah Fitzpatrick, and now he's getting replaced again with a quarterback with the first 5 picks. This is terrible. This is something that no player should ever go through, and it's very sad. So in the end, what's my opinion on Josh Rosen? Here is my opinion on Josh Rosen. Josh Rosen looked like a great quarterback. He looked like he could be a good quarterback, but the problem is Josh Rosen never had anyone to teach him the ropes as a NFL quarterback. Well, he had Minkah Fitzpatrick with the Miami Dolphins. Let me tell you another story. A similar story. So similar that Minkah Fitzpatrick was also in that story. Ever heard of the Russian roulette of gunslingers? Jameis Winston, 30 for 30. Yeah, Jameis Winston was also had Minkah Fitzpatrick as the backup quarterback. And just like Josh Rosen, Minkah was not there to teach them how to be a quarterback. Nope. The organization brought them in to compete, to be the starting quarterback. Josh Rosen and Jameis Winston never had a chance, because no one taught them how to be a good quarterback. And it's very sad, to be honest. So not only did no one taught them how the NFL works as a quarterback, yeah, both their offensive lines, Cardinals and Miami Dolphins offensive lines, were terrible. And the only way I can see Josh Rosen being a good quarterback is if he actually was put on a team with an actual decently good offensive line. Two teams that I automatically think of who could revitalize Josh Rosen's career: the Colts and the Steelers. Those are two teams that I think of that could realistically bring back Josh Rosen's career as a quarterback. They both have one thing in common: old quarterbacks, old starting quarterbacks with backups who've shown that they will not be the answer. Josh Rosen could be that guy. But due to the fact that the Colts have Jacob Brissett and new-coming rookie Jacob Eason, the Pittsburgh Steelers seems to be the perfect place for Josh Rosen. He has actual weapons, aka Juju, Schuster, James Conner. He has actual weapons. He has an actual good offensive line. An incredible defense, that's for sure. So, I will have to make a video on Jameis Winston and on why the Pittsburgh Steelers organization is the perfect place for quarterbacks for the future. So, in the end, is Josh Rosen a terrible quarterback or a quarterback that's been screwed over by the NFL? Well, there's only one way to find out. Put him on a team with good offensive line. How about that, NFL?